So, folks, this might just be the reason why. And no, folks, we are not talking about any viral, controversial Netflix programming, which happens to have the same sort of tagline, but this may be the secret, underlying, low-key, predictable, maybe not so predictable depending on who you ask, reason why everything has gone down the way it has. You know, sometimes I like to talk about my YouTube channel as a snowball. This is a common metaphor that you'll find a lot of YouTubers actually describe their channels as, especially in the olden days. But it's hard to get started here on YouTube. It's a lot of packing together ideas. It's a lot of trying to find your niche. It's trying to be creative. It's trying to do things that you're not used to unless you've made video content before. But it's tough at first. Hard to get fans, hard to get people that watch your videos, hard to get likes, views, and subscriptions. I always say at the end of these videos, make sure to troll, dislike, and do not subscribe to LegoRox99 and buy. But once you start to get a little bit of traction, once it starts packing itself together, that's when the snowball starts building up on itself. Snowballs get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as they get bigger. It's easier for them to become bigger when they're already bigger. And I think, to some capacity, this might be the same thing that we are seeing with Vancouver Canucks superstar Elias Pettersson. This show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out the first link in the description to save some money on your VPN, get some free months, and support this YouTube channel, all in the process. PD has been underwhelming the past year and a bit. In 2025, just the year 2025, he is scoring at a rough 30-ish point pace over a full season. It's not great, especially for a guy who is one of the top paid players in the entire league. For months on end, even for a year now on end, Vancouver Canucks fans have been criticizing Elias Pettersson. Oh, if this guy was just himself in the playoffs, Vancouver could have beat Edmonton. Vancouver could have made the finals. Vancouver could have done this and they could have done that if Thatcher Demko was just available and Brock Besser wasn't hurt. And, you know, it was a really difficult conversation to have about Vancouver Canucks hockey last year because they were so good. But Pettersson wasn't after the All-Star break. He stunk. And I think a lot of us have been trying to figure out why everything's been going down. Jason Bruff and Halford and Bruff said it was the yips. We've had a lot of people speculating on an injury. Oh, it's tendonitis. It's the wrist. It's him not being at 100%. And as a result, it's like, okay, well, if he's not at 100%, why is he playing? Why is he being accepted for Team Sweden? Why is he being cleared by Team Sweden? Why is everybody allowing this guy to play? Oh, tendonitis affects the knee, and he's not going to be out to a significant capacity that he can't play, but that's why he can't skate. Okay, sure. Maybe he is able to play. Maybe he is moving. But when you watch him on the ice, he doesn't do that. In theory, it might work out, but it does not work out in practice. And now, with all this conversation about Elias Pettersson not having a good relationship with the Sedin twins because, you know, they're developmental figures in the Vancouver Canucks organization and they're some beloved characters in Vancouver Canucks history and lore, some of the most beloved people in this city, to be honest. To hear that Elias Pettersson does not have a great relationship with those guys because he prefers to be more of a quote-unquote lone wolf type of dude when trying to improve his game, it kind of gets a little bit frustrating. And so now, what I wanted to do was dive into another angle, the snowball angle, as to how things have gotten to this point with Elias Pettersson, because I wanted to turn your attention to this post made by Ernst on the R Canucks subreddit. This was from earlier this morning, and he says this. This is the single most clear explanation of what's going on with Elias Pettersson right now. It's a soundbite from 2022. And included is a video clip of Elias Pettersson at the 2021-2022 end-of-season post-season press conference. Yeah, the end-of-season press conference. That's what it is. Sorry, I screwed that up. But In the 2021-2022 season, Elias Pettersson had 68 points in 80 games, the same amount of points that he had in his rookie season in more games. So a lot of folks were kind of frustrated with the way this guy was producing, but you could say that the sophomore slump was supposed to catch up to this guy. He didn't really have a proper sophomore slump, if you want to say, because he only played 26 games in his second year. But in particular, in 2021-2022, there was a stint in the middle of the season where Elias Pettersson wasn't really producing much. It was kind of in January-ish. He had 1 point in the span of, I think it was like 7, 8, 9 games or whatever it was. And Pettersson then went out there and said this in the video clip. I transcribed this using the AI machine and I corrected it with my own judgment because, you know, I'm a human being. I could go out there and detect nuance that the AI can't. Jeff Patterson in the video clip asks Pettersson, the slow start and at 1 point mid-season, you mentioned that the wrist was a bit of an issue. Can you just kind of fill us in? Like, what was the main reason for the slow start? Pettersson then says, no, it wasn't. The wrist wasn't the main issue for the slow start. It was, I'm probably too honest, but I was a little caught up with like a new contract, missing training camp, expectations were raised. I still felt it, but it wasn't an excuse. I wasn't as confident as I guess, always were. And that's where the biggest issue was. And the more games I played and it didn't go on well, the more I, not dwelled on it, but I guess somewhat. But then on the other hand, I turned it around, I got experience from it. I learned how to deal with, I guess, the toughest part of my hockey career so far. So I'd like to think positive that now I've gone through it. And hopefully I don't have a bad stretch like that. But if I do, I know how to get out of it. Essentially, Elias Pettersson is citing confidence and mentality, lethality, execution capability, and getting in his own head as being the reason why he had a really difficult time in certain parts of the 2021-22 season, with expectations raised and a new contract. Do you not remember that last year, the turning point when Elias Pettersson stopped being good was right around when he had signed that big money extension near the All-Star break? He was fantastic before then. He was tied for first in the NHL in points at one point with Quinn Hughes and JT Miller. What a sight to behold for the Vancouver Canucks. And while Vancouver hockey continued to be great throughout the 24-25 season, Elias Pettersson was not good. And the contract signing aligns perfectly with when he ended up stopping his productivity. So, is confidence really it? Here's a top comment on the R Canucks sub from the same thread. I always thought his problems were to do with confidence, with not dealing well with pressure. The big contract makes it worse as it brings in with imposter syndrome, which is difficult to get over, and only gets amplified when you're underperforming. So many of us hoped he would thrive at the Four Nations and get his mojo back, but the opposite happened. Combine this with the rumor that he said he doesn't like or need therapy, and we have the current situation. And then the top comment says, men will literally get outperformed by Matt Rempe instead of going to therapy. Yeah, okay, that's not great. Not sure if that actually was a thing either. It's just really being talked about here on the subreddit, but I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below about this entire conversation. By the way, the link is going to be in the description if you want to go ahead and listen to the audio yourself. I tried to include some of the nuance and the pauses and stuff in the transcription. Another comment here says, Canaba, you can like Elias Pettersson the person, but hate how he's playing. I think that's where a lot of us are. PD, if you read this, we still love you, we just don't like how you're playing hockey. But that can be changed. If you like a guy, sometimes you want to do what's best for him, and maybe that means moving to a different market with less pressure. And with that pressure comes snarkiness towards the media, right? Like we had seen with Elias Pettersson last week with Ian McIntyre. I'm still not over that, by the way. That's still going to be there in my subconscious. So with all this in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Elias Pettersson and whether or not you think this entire conversation on him and his confidence really is a big deal. Is this really the snowball effect, like we had talked about earlier in the video? If you have the small negative thoughts, and they start to pile up, and they pile up even more, and once you make a bad play, and your coach calls you out, and the media calls you out, and the fans call you out, then it piles up even more and more and more, and that's when you falter, and that's where you lose yourself. Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.